Hey, we're back for another episode of Talkin Trash. I'm your host, Tim Snyder. Alongside of me are my co-hosts, Nick D'Angelo and Mike Oxley. How we doing
It's
tonight,
a
boys?
pleasure, as always. How's everybody doing
What's
tonight?
going on?
Always good. Yeah, we had a good episode on Thursday. We're getting to the point where we can just crank them out and get them online, and things go quick.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we're getting our footing here. We got a lot of feedback, and that's kind of what I want to touch on. This is our fifth take at the intro here, so I'm like I'm having a tough time trying to figure out the energy in the. But anyway, we had a lot of good responses from Thursday's show. It is nice to giving back to the community, or that sounds sort of high and mighty, giving back to the community. It's nice to be helping people because we know that we are to whatever degree, whether it's just informationally or it's actionably, whether somebody is taking our advice and rolling with it. I know that's happened a few
It's
times.
that instant gratification I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're right, and
Um,
that's how we are as addicts. We
that's how I
want
was as a nurse.
everything. We want it right now. We want to, so for us, we have to accept that things aren't going to come instantly, especially for people who have burned their lives to the ground. So the few that want to recover and want to fix what they've done is they're usually listening more intently than the other people. You hope the message is getting across to people who are just going with the motions, but a lot of people who are serious about it are probably more the ones watching our show or watching it for a loved one. So yeah, we are. I'm not really sure how many people are listening. It's up in the grand mark, at least.
Mhm.
So we're up there. We're doing two shows a week, so I have to kind of look at the analytics a little differently. But either way, we have a nice group amongst the three of us.
Cool.
We do good. We love each other. We support each other. We don't just come on the podcast and rock and roll. We talk off the podcast. We support each other in that way too. So as usual, let's go around the horn, see how everybody's doing. We'll start with Nikki. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, guys. A little tired today, but we're making it happen. Today I went to bed. It was raining. I wake up, it's sunny, so missed the whole day, but it's okay. Here I am.
Yeah,
You know, start
been
the
there.
day.
Been
Yeah,
there,
it's
done
good
that.
though. Yeah, everything's good. Everything's good. Everything's good. Can't complain.
Michael, how are you?
I'm good. Beautiful day it was. Got up, and when I got up, the sun was starting to come out. It ended up being in the 80s today, and it was beautiful. I sat out back. I watched my wife do some yard work. Um, I threw a tennis ball a couple times for the dogs.
All right.
Very nice, just the basic stuff. I talked to a couple friends on the phone, and here I am to
My dad
bare my
says.
soul.
My dad says with you. He says you've been through a lot and like a really life scary incident, and he says that he thinks and he sees that this podcast helps you in whatever way, and it's nice to see that that you're happy because of it, that you're happy giving back, because it's hard to recover from a medical thing like that,
Oh yeah,
and be
oh yeah.
whole, and also be whole as a person.
hmm
And that's why I wanted you on the show because I know who you are and what you can be and what you've done. And I just don't. I never want you to forget that. So my dad, he's a know it all.
Physically, I can't do what I was doing as a nurse and picking somebody up off the floor, for God's sake, or something like
Hmm.
that. But mentally, I can still be there, and I'm hoping to use this as a tool
Yeah,
to use my mental skills, nursing, and common sense.
yeah,
But remember, I'm not in recovery. When you guys talk the deep depths of recovery, I'm now a family member to you guys.
yeah.
I'm rooting years on. I'm learning. I'm wondering. I'm asking questions that all of our audience should be answering. I'm just on the front line to answer it tonight. That's all.
Good point. Me and Nick can represent the addiction community, the recovery community, but as far as having a true outside voice, it's nice having Mike in the mix because he can come at questions where he has no idea what we're talking about. He even said last episode that what happens when you go out the door. I can only see you from the nursing cart. I can't go out the door with you. So I get that too. Like me and Nick have both been out the door, maybe several
I'd
times.
see them come
Mhm.
back to a meeting if they happen to choose
Right.
that meeting in that place at that time if they were local. So there's a few people I will always follow and wonder and cheer on and everything, but I didn't. It wasn't a local community group
Yeah.
where the people came to me. I have no idea what happened.
No, I get it, but like you said, you're coming at it from a not naive, but yeah, I guess naive standpoint where
Yeah,
like you don't really know,
I
and
have a lot of questions as the other person in the relationship for those in recent recovery. Even as a nurse, I have a lot of questions for what's going on mentally, what's going on behind the scenes. How are you feeling? You obviously just can't take a break from life for 6 months to a year
yeah,
and expect everything to be right. So on the other side, I can say, okay, well, you've been on break for 5 years. You haven't, you know, done this for 5 years.
time to get things going here.
You haven't painted the
Hmm.
garage in 5 years.
Right.
So,
Hmm.
now all of a sudden you're all better because you painted the garage.
Yeah.
So these are the little things that nag at me. The common sense approach to kind of get out from within yourself, addict boy, and start putting it to use. Times are running. Times are running. Times are
Always,
running.
always. You said it.
And,
You said it best. Relationships.
you
That's
know,
basically what everything's about. Everything. Life is relationships. As addicts, we don't care. We usually get high alone. But everything comes down to relationships. So your aftercare, your therapist, your medication, all this shit has to do with your relationships with the people that you love and should love you. And that's really the end game here. Whether it's friends in recovery, whether it's friends in your family, it's all relationships. That's what life is. And when you're out
Hmm.
of when you're sober again, you start to realize like, holy shit, that's what all this is about. You'll realize at one point that it's relationships that are the most important thing. And yeah, I don't know, Nick, can you talk to that a little bit? Like, what's the overall point of this whole thing?
I mean, I know that. Well, Mike, just saying that, high or not, I don't think that garage is going to get painted.
No,
Um, but I think that after the treatment and things like that, I think one of the most important things to do, whether you choose that one aftercare route or not, is to do they say do 90 meetings in 90 days. Now, it's a lot of times it's to build a regiment, to build a routine up, to get into your daily life of still making recovery a part of it, regardless what your situation is, whether
hmm
it's that 1 hour at like we said earlier at 7 o'clock. So you work from 9 to 5. You could go home, do what you got to do, go to that meeting at 7 o'clock. I
hmm
mean, I think it's very important to do that. I, in the beginning, blew out 90 meetings in 90 days. I also didn't have much to do
yeah.
besides IOP at the time. So I would go to a meeting during the day at noon in Atlantic City, and then I would go to one at nighttime. One was AA, one was NA. But that was a time where I was trying to figure out where I felt safe, where I can listen to what people had to say and process, and also feel like it was my safety zone where if I could wait all day to speak to somebody or listen or whatever, that was the spot. You know
Yeah.
what I
oh,
mean?
so all 90 weren't at the same place. You were
No,
still
No,
it's yeah,
that 90
no,
counts by you're finding your group. Like you guys have both said before, keep going back, find different groups, find your family. You know what I mean? Find your people. Where
yeah,
Nick, you're a little different. Where when you got into that sober living house, that
yeah,
you guys had all kind of got together beforehand and said, we're going to make this sober living house our sober living house. So you already
yeah,
had your little group going in there from the other
yeah,
houses.
yeah.
So
Well,
that's not the norm.
yeah, well, that was at like my 2.5 month mark. But before that, we
That was the
made it.
structured one.
The structured one was where I was at, yeah, for 2.5 months. Then I went to the Oxford house.
Right. Okay.
But the first house, we were still just as close because that was a house where, it was just opening up. My guy John was the first guy. The guy Mike was the manager. I was the second guy. Then this guy Palmer, X, Y, and Z. So we still went to meetings. We still made it a part of our day, where, hey, we're going to this meeting. And I'm not from the area. John wasn't from the area, I don't think, but like the other ones were. But like we would go to a different meeting every time. We go to Brigantine, we go to Atlantic City, we go to Egg Harbor Township or Linwood,
Linwood,
all
yeah.
over the place. Because then again, there are meetings everywhere. And there you could open up a brochure right now and look and be like, oh, shoot, there's a meeting at the church basement across the street from my
Hey,
house.
hey
And you had
Nick,
no idea.
what's that meeting? It's in South Jersey, where it's like a church. It's just like a very small building, and everybody's allowed to still smoke in it, and it's
Oh, Stagecoach, I
yeah,
think it's
Oh, the
called.
one down in Cape May County.
Cape May County, yeah,
I never been there. I've been wanting to. When I used to
dude.
smoke cigarettes, I've been wanting to go. At the time, it was just the smoke inside. But
So strange. I was on heroin at the time, but it's such a strange thing. Yeah, but yeah, I experienced that South Jersey, Atlantic County recovery thing. There's good recovery down there.
it's very strong.
Very strong. Because I experienced the Levittown thing, um, the Monmouth and Ocean County thing. Atlantic County was by far the best. But like
It's good to hear.
Nick has said, and we've both been saying, everything's what you make it, right? So like,
Yeah.
if you want recovery, go out and get it. It's there.
How do you? What I'm saying is, how do you bring your families dealt with you this long? They've dealt with it. You tell them just hang in there a little bit longer, a little bit longer. How do you get your family to keep believing in you now that you're out and now you need to do 90 meetings in 90 days? And,
I mean,
where do you find the common ground to say, listen, I'm doing this for us?
well, technically, you got it. You can't. It's first and foremost. It's not for
Well, from
us.
me, for us. Right.
It's a great job. It's for me. But it's gonna be to some people who do decide to go straight home or to be back at a loved one's house, parents' house, wife, boyfriend, whatever it is, it will be a little bit overwhelming at first, right? Because now you just did all this destruction, right? And now you're going back to that house because you think it's the best option or the only option to do. And now you got to deal with these, like I said, the other episodes. There's feelings that are going to come up. Yeah, you were dealing with some feelings inside treatment where it's a safe haven, right?
Yeah.
Just
And
starting
then
to feel them. Just starting to feel them.
and just starting, exactly. And then you're going to get out. And now you're in the real world.
Yeah.
So now these feelings and emotions are going to start hitting, which usually, honestly, I think doesn't happen to like 60, 90 days, maybe, right? But
Yeah,
now
sure.
you're going to have mom or dad, loved one, etc., drive you to the meeting, right?
Right.
Then they're going to be waiting for you after the meeting.
Yeah.
Then they're going to ask you how the meeting went. Then they want to know what you said at the meeting. Some people, I had a dang tracker in my car from my freaking my dad. I thought it was a beeper. I was like, who the hell uses a
All right.
beeper anymore? It was under my seat, but it was a tracker. But
Good for him.
Yeah,
Good
smart.
for you, Mr.
Like,
D'Angelo.
MI6 over here.
But but that's what happens. I mean, that's part of the process. But look, it does get better. But the thing that people got
Trust.
to remember is trust has to be built. Everything has to be built brick by brick, and it turns out to be a beautiful process. It really does. But at the same time, what you say at a meeting and what you say inside, what's told to you, you keep that. If you decide to incorporate what your loved one wants to hear, that's fine. But this is also supposed to be your therapy session. It's supposed to be where you learn, where you get the knowledge, the tools to grow and build, not just for you, but for everybody around. So
Now,
it's
in addition to the meetings and to deal with the addiction, as the family member, picture myself, say I'm married and this is my wife we're talking about. So she's going to do her 90 meetings in 90 days and give her some more room. She just got home from treatment.
mhm.
What about therapy? What about therapy for me and her? We got 90 meetings, IOP plus therapy.
Too early.
When do we work?
Well, that's I think, like I said, I'll say it real quick, Tim. I think that's way too soon because
Mhm.
people, my mother was one of them. where I'm clean now, I'm getting sober. Now they want to start asking me questions from things that happened, 6 years prior, 5 years prior.
Right.
Hey, why'd you steal my jewelry? Hey, why did you steal my car and whatever back when you were 14? Like all this other stuff. I'm not ready to talk about that. And it takes a while for people to get like that because they feel obligated now because you've been putting up with my BS for so long. Now I feel obligated to have to tell you. But personally, I think that's way too soon. I think 3 months, because like I said, you get your feelings and emotions back at 2-3 months, but that doesn't give it the okay to be like, okay, 3 month mark, boom, we're going to go right into therapy and bring up all these feelings of mass destruction.
Yeah,
No,
why'd you sell those
I
Air Force Ones when you were in high school? They
Yeah.
didn't get stolen out of your locker.
I
Right.
won't
Yeah.
I won't address specifically Mike's question, but I will address how you deal with loved ones out of treatment and too early, too soon, and what is all that. This is funny. My parents are figuring out stuff like through the podcast, and they're looking at me like, "That's what you did that time." I'm like, "Yeah." So so what I've told them this stuff. Probably not, but like everything's fine. Why bring up old wounds? But yeah, they hear
Right.
things like. You injected crystal meth? That's not you. I'm like, yeah, mom, it is me. I hate to break it to you. So,
Sorry.
so yes, but it's a good thing. It if there was anything closed on me, it's open.
My
So
mom would have been like, "Oh, the crystal light. Oh yeah,
yeah,
good. There's no calories now."
yeah, all
Well,
moms are like that.
yeah, it's a process. People got to realize that. I mean, it's a process. I mean, also, look, 90 meetings in 90 days isn't just for the meetings, right?
Right.
90 meetings, you're supposed to they suggest, not supposed to, they suggest you get a home group where that's your meeting. You go and do
Commitments.
commitments. You go make the coffee. I had a sponsor say, hey, making coffee saved my life. It gives you something to look forward to. You get all these commitments for the meeting. You get networking. You get a sponsor, So not only are you building this routine, you're building the foundation. You get your sponsor, you get your network, you got your sponsee brothers or sponsee sisters. So then, and throughout time, you're built for success. It's just if you're going to utilize those tools that are given to you.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, I didn't talk to me and my dad. We had our little differences, right? We're great now. That's my number one right there. I mean, we talk every day. But at the time we weren't speaking in the for maybe like a month and a half. I think we were talking, and then we didn't talk for like my first 9-10 months, something like that. Because my mom, same thing, not that long, but still didn't talk for a couple of months. I was in sober living. They were up north. My mom wanted to figure everything out, like we were just talking about, Mike. Hey, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? What's this? What's that? I
And they're
need to
waiting for
know.
the other shoe to drop for you to fuck
Yeah.
up again,
They
I
all
said,
are.
look, I need to work on myself. I need to figure this stuff out. So I
which
got
was
it
new
this.
to them. I mean, that's the first time probably they'd ever heard that.
Right.
That's
Oh,
something
to
in the
hear
right
that,
direction.
yeah, that I need to work on myself. I mean,
Yeah,
the
that's a
house,
big thing.
the house manager too. He was talking some nonsense to my dad, telling him I wasn't doing the right thing. That he's not looking for work. He's doing this. He's doing that, which was complete nonsense. So of course, being back in recovery, right, newly clean, getting my dad getting this information. Of
Right,
course,
right.
of course,
Mr. Karen, right.
he's going to think the
Right in the
worst.
house.
So
Yeah.
it's but for
So,
me, I needed to.
so what I'm getting off of what you guys are saying is basically, for me being a layman here, is, you know what? I've invested time, and I've invested bad time in this loving relationship. Now he's going away or she's going away. So I've invested good time. Now there's some more, but I'm almost there. There is going to be a return to some kind of normalcy before it all went to shit.
Right.
So stay with it. It's just when they get home, that's not fixing it. That's really a new. Why don't we call it a new beginning?
Yeah,
There's a beginning when you go to get sober. When you go to inpatient, that's a new beginning. But there's another new beginning, a newer beginning when you get home and start cohabitating and have coworkers and are working around your other obligations with your meetings and manning up and painting that fucking shed.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say the 12 steps. I'm like you. What are you
Right.
trying to
Whatever works.
what are you trying to accomplish? What's your end goal, right? So you want this person back in your life or whatever. Are you sabotaging yourself before you even start by trying to be too much too soon? I know I've done that.
That's what I
And
worry about, and I
my
worry about the family pressure making somebody do that.
mhm, sure.
Yeah, that
In
I
a,
mean,
in a, inadvertently. Of course, your mother, your wife would never want to make you do that, but I could see how coming home to that kind of pressure cooker is like to me right now. It's like getting up the bat in the bottom of the ninth with two out and two men on and one run down. I feel
eh,
like all eyes are on me all the time.
but
Can I can I take a poop? I mean, really?
Yeah.
it's I mean, look, that's going to be. It's also people got to remember too, like it goes along with people trying to understand how an addict or alcoholic thinks. I
Mhm.
mean, you're not always going to be able to figure it out, or
Right.
I would recommend that some people sometimes don't even just let the process take its course,
Yeah.
but have your boundaries. You know what
Sure.
I mean? Have your boundaries. And there's people, when I was 18 and I was in treatment, right? Sunrise House, I came home. Usually they want you to go straight to the sober living. I was going to Florida the next day or whatever. So they were like, hey, do you want to go home? I was like, yeah, I want to go home for the day. I went home. I was in my room crying
Yeah.
for the whole day. My cousin Dominic came to see me. My dad, everybody, like a couple of people, whatever. I didn't leave my room
Mhm.
because being home, yeah, it's not only tough for the relationship, but you start getting the feelings of all the destruction that happened in the home,
Yeah.
certain places, certain things. And it's like all these emotions are coming back just from being back in that environment, not
Mhm.
even with your significant other, just in that environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people who go through this, it's a process.
Yeah.
It's a process, and that's what people got to understand. Words, I could tell. I used to be able to sell ice to an Eskimo.
Mhm.
It was insane,
Yep.
right? And I know Tim can attest to this too. Like, but it's the actions.
Mhm.
Once the people start seeing the actions, minus the also with the words, hey, I'm going to go to a meeting, actually going to the meeting.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go do step work, actually go to do step work. I'm going to
Mhm.
go to work, actually go to work.
Right.
Once they see the growth, then things start to change a little bit too.
Right. And these
And
are all
trust. It goes back
element
to that word trust. A lot of it is trust.
a lot of this stuff is elementary, right? You just want people to love and trust you, and everything has to be done in an order. That's why the 12 steps are how they are. That's why therapists will tell you to do this first, and then this and that. You can't jump right to step 6 with a family member if you're only on, -2 with them. You know what I mean? Like, so you really need to embrace the fact that the things that you've done have caused this rift in relationships. So you can get very caught up with what she said this to me, and I'm newly in recovery, and how could she do that? How could she love me? You get all these emotions. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what's going on, and now you're a very high risk for relapse because
Mhm.
you are extremely um new to what you're doing. You shouldn't even be
Fragile.
try. Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't even trying to contact Uncle John and telling him about, I'm sorry, I stole your moped 4 weeks ago, whatever it was. Like, he's not ready to hear it. He's bound to chew your head off for even trying. And
Mhm.
now you feel like shit, and he's pissed off, and there's no progress made. You can't start from one if you start at five. And
Yeah,
so that's how I look at it.
So coming
I
home is definitely a new phase in the recovery relationship.
of
It's not the
course.
final phase, but just coming home is definitely a new phase.
Well, for some
I,
It's
people, it,
not
it
you when
is.
you left. It's not you when they were visiting you at the facility or on the phone with you. This is again another new phase of kind of
Well,
sniffing around and trying to gain some trust.
Well, like you said, it's not the final stage, but um, for some people, it is the final stage, and they're jumping
Well,
right into it. And
then they're the ones that I would see back next week, 2 weeks after that run, a month later, or are dead right
well,
now.
I mean, like
To
this.
be honest with you, or they're dead.
I mean, like it. it's their final stage. I guess for everybody, your final stage is to go home and to get back to normal life. But if you go to the final stage right when you walk out of treatment, obviously you're going to trip over the finish line because you didn't run the race. You know, so um,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I,
you
Well, that kind of
I,
answers what I wanted to see. That what happens when you leave and you just go home, and
sure.
the
I
90
mean,
meetings in 90 days would be tough, though, Nick. Man, that would be tough.
Most people don't
listen,
have a job. They don't have,
Yeah,
listen.
but
If you
what if you like live on a farm, like 10 miles outside of like Toluca?
stop it, no sir.
yeah.
Listen, I would get high as a kite, drive in a freaking snowstorm. You know what I mean? Like I
Uh,
said, go get a bag of blow. Why, my drug dealer Ron. And I would, if the things I would do to go get high, if that's what they say, if you could put that effort into being clean and sober, you're gonna do it.
Right.
You got buses. You could call somebody, say, "Hey,
and
look, I need
plus,
a
with the
ride."
invention of Wi-Fi and online meetings, even podcasts we're doing right like this, there's got to be
Yeah,
some kind of. There is no excuse for you not getting
no,
some kind of group
but
together, right? Right.
I also don't like, me personally. I don't like to look at it as stages or phases or things like that. You got to just look at it as life on life's terms, whether it's good or
Yeah,
bad.
but as an outsider, and I'm not in recovery, I need to look at it as stages and phases because the clock's running. To you be normal again. Remember, I'm the husband.
There shouldn't be a clock. There shouldn't be a clock. Recovery has
It's
no
hard to tell
timetable.
people that. It's hard to
Yeah, I
tell your
mean, but
wife there is no clock, baby.
it needs to. That's what needs to be heard. I mean, listen, till death do us part, right? So what's the clock there? Clock is death. Hopefully, death is when you guys are both 107 years old. But I mean, when it gets to the point of recovery, I mean, you got to accept it. I mean, there's people. Listen, there's people who they find out who their husband is or loved one sober, and they're like, I don't even like you like
Oh
this.
my
Yeah.
god.
You know
Yep.
what I'm
Oh
saying?
my
So
god.
Yep.
yeah, listen, it's
Hey, you know what? That's I've heard that. So
as sad as that sounds. I mean, listen, you might get sober and say, "Hey, I don't even like you."
Yep.
Sorry. Let's call a spade here. It gets
Yeah.
serious because now you're not putting your feelings, suppressing your feelings and emotions to deal with your nagging loved one.
that's
But
crazy, but
But say you
I can
love
see
that
it.
person. Say that's what you want. You want that relationship back. And then you
yeah,
realize that they don't like you and you don't like them unless you're high. So
yeah,
say you want that relationship more than you want your recovery, you'll relapse just to have that relationship back because now you're
yeah.
high and now you're back in a relationship. So I know it doesn't make sense.
That's the
It
cycle, right?
it's a cycle.
I mean, listen, while people are in an Oxford house, I mean, look, it's when you're it's if the route is to go that Oxford house, right? Like I
Yeah.
said, there's people who are like, not just their loved ones. I mean, like I said, I've seen thousands of them when we worked at the spot where they're pushing them to go to that spot
Yeah.
to get better. There are those ones who say, hey, come home. But if they love you and know all this and it's for the better of you, I think they would push for you to better yourself because bettering yourself is bettering you too or your family. You could still take care of everything. You could still paint the shed or the garage while I'm living in the Oxford house. I
Yes.
just won't be physically there,
Right.
sleeping next to you every night. I could still go home. You have curfew, 11 o'clock. During the weekends, 2 o'clock. You could sleep out 3-4 nights a week, just not back to back. Like there's still things you're able to go do these things to help. You could
Sure.
start
Okay.
initiating the process, right? To go back to the house to cuddle with your wife or boyfriend, whatever. But it's a step by step. You
But
can go bring the kids to the house.
if you yeah, right. If you think about it from the family member's point of view, and they really do love you and want you to get clean, most of them, the majority of people are guided towards aftercare, whether it's IOP, PHP, sober living, whatever it is. So think about this: the family member that you have just destroyed for years and still loves you. Um, Not only do they want you to do whatever it takes to get clean, but they also have just gotten the last 30 days of sleep that they ever had in
Yeah.
Right,
years
right,
now.
Yeah.
You know what I
right.
mean?
Without walking around with Narcan. Yep.
Right. So another 30 days, 40 days, 60 days, whatever it is, go ahead. I'm sleeping great. So like do your thing. I'm going to catch up on years of lost sleep and that's where I'm at.
You know what's crazy,
It's
Tim?
funny, but it's true.
It's also, we keep thinking about the addict or alcoholic.
Mhm.
You think about the person, Mike, say you, right? Outside perspective. You also got to take yourself into consideration, right? Okay, we're talking
Sure.
about this process, the stages that you guys are saying. But what about you? Are you ready to have this person back in the house? That's what you have to ask.
Right.
Are you ready to have this gentleman, this lady sleeping back in the house? Are you ready?
Yeah.
You already can't trust them with your kids. You already can't trust them with this. Are you ready to have him come back to the house?
Am I
That's
ready
what
to go back
people
to
think.
playing security guard? Right.
Right.
Setting up cameras, a teddy bear cam, is he going
Right.
through your purse? All these typical analogies. You
The
know what I
nuances
mean?
of an addiction
Sure.
relationship that hopefully are changed.
Right.
But
Listen,
good. I think that's a clear indication of
yeah.
what life is going to be like when somebody comes home.
Yeah,
Look,
if you're being
What
honest with
they need.
yourself, if you're
What they need.
truly being honest with yourself, and you're just went into inpatient for the first time or whatever, the third time, you're gonna be open that this needs to change. Like,
yeah,
something needs to change. I can't
yeah,
keep running back home or my brother's couch or whatever. This isn't working. So, like, it's you get to that point where you throw your hands up and just surrender and just be like, you know what? It's out of my
And that's when it
control.
works.
What is it? God? Is it whatever it is? I'm done trying to control things. You take it. And when you put that faith into some higher power, someone or spiritual building or being or something, whatever, when you put your faith into that entity and you see that results come from it. Like, you tried to manipulate things your whole life and get what you want. Now you're letting go and it's coming back. And that's specifically my experience.
yeah. It's good. It will be tough. The one thing they say, it will be tough. It's not going to be easy, but if both parties are willing to make it happen, and get this back on track, it will
It,
be tough.
it didn't break down real fast. It's not going to be fixed real fast. That's
Always
Yeah.
with anything. Yeah.
I mean, I remember times I can't remember the exact pill it was. I was at my dad's, staying at my dad's when I first got out of treatment. Might have been the second time, a year later, less than a year. But he was missing like Xanax or something like that. I
Hmm.
swear I did. To this day, I
Oh,
didn't take him.
whatever, Nick. Yeah, sure you did.
No, I swear. To this day, I didn't take him. I
Yeah.
didn't even know he had him in the car. They were in
Yeah.
his car. But I
Zanny the
mean,
nanny.
Yeah.
but you're going to deal with those interactions where it's going to be like, hey, you took my Xanax. And it's like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
And this is now 15 years later, and I didn't take them. Dad,
Yeah.
when you listen, I didn't take the Xanax or whatever it was.
Yep.
But there's times where,
They
but that,
still, though, that family member still wants answers. They don't.
yeah, oh,
They're not gonna
yeah.
crucify you, but they want to know that they're not crazy. That they noticed 10 missing pills, and they want to know that they didn't eat them and somebody didn't steal them. They want to know that they went in your mouth and down to their stomach. And
Yeah.
and once
That
they
you're
know,
still a suspect.
once
Right.
they know that, whatever, fine. It's a closed case for them, and that's how it is with most of the things in recovery. Is
Yeah.
you need to lean towards closing that case, whether it's early on, whether you're ready for it, or whether it's later on, and the situation calls for it. But yeah, I mean, same thing with me. I you know, where's that $10? I knew I had that $10 in my wallet,
Right.
and you
Right.
swore you didn't take it. I'm like,
And maybe
this
you
is
were
5 years.
high, but maybe they fast changed you at the Acme customer service center.
Right, but you can
Yeah.
also get
But you were high, but you didn't take it.
Innocent mistake.
you can take,
Right.
yeah, exactly. You can take that as a resentment too. Um, and
Hmm.
it'll, but
Yeah.
you gotta, for me, like, you're you're blaming me on stealing 10 of your Percocet, and I get all hot and bothered because you're blaming me, when the reality is I've stolen more pills and money from you I can imagine, but
Hmm.
you're just asking me about this one thing, and I'm gonna get
Yeah.
Right.
up in arms, I'm gonna get an attitude.
Right.
That's a you
Doth
check.
protest too much.
Yeah,
Right.
it's hypocrisy at its finest. And early recovery, it's all about opening the doors and shining light on what you really are. And like Nick always says, being open minded, you have to accept these things for what they are. You've done them, you did them. Other people's reactions are going to be their reactions. We've damaged people while other people are doing the right things. They're losing sleep. We're doing whatever we're doing, or when they have to go to work, we're sleeping because we're messed up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so all this damage that we've created and that we've caused other people to live in, that's we have no idea how bad that is. So early on in treatment, like for me, like for the fifth time, I was like, I can't keep doing this to other people. Like
Mhm.
I planned to have died. I
How's
didn't.
the relationship with your ex-wife now? Just by the way, if you're comfortable talking about it.
I'll talk about it. There isn't one. We talk about the kids and but other than that, like she's got a boyfriend and good on her. I'm happy for her. You
Good
know,
guy,
uh,
girls like him.
I know about him through my girls and yeah, they say he's okay, but like
Okay,
my ex-wife, that she's a perfect example. I did all this crap, and she was the one I did it too for a number of years, until it got really ugly when we split up. But all this crap I did for a number of years, and I'm gonna hold it against her for being mad at me. Does that make any sense?
Mhm.
That's a drug addict's mentality. Like
Yeah.
right.
how dare you question
A,
my
a drug addict and a narcissist all rolled into one.
no
But go
kidding.
ahead.
Being a drug addict is being narcissistic. It's
Absolutely, it's the
Yeah.
most selfish thing that you can do.
the most selfish thing you can do because you hurt yourself and hurt everybody else. I mean, could you be more of a pain in the ass? I mean, everybody's trying to pull in one direction, and here
Right,
you are anchoring, the anchor's trailing, and you're just like, wait, I got to do this. Wait, everybody, I got to make this mistake before we can move forward. And then
Yeah.
you know about this mistake. You better not. How dare you
right.
come at me that way? I'm
Yeah.
an upstanding citizen. I didn't steal the $10, but I did steal those 40 Xanax. So I don't know if you know. I didn't know if you noticed that yet or not. But yeah,
Yeah.
how dare you? How dare you? And that's
So
how it
you get a
was.
lot of questions like this, right, Tim?
Yeah.
That mail into the show and notes and emails and about the first bit about going home. So I mean, I know they're asked like 10 different ways. Do you understand what I'm saying?
All
But
right.
I think just tonight we hit a couple fabrics that kind of entertains a lot of the emails and questions of the non-addicted members of the relationship have.
Well, good point.
And that's
We're,
that's who I am tonight.
we're
You know what I
good.
mean?
Yeah, for sure. We're at the like 37-minute mark. So why don't we get into some of those
Can I,
emails?
can I
What?
just can I just say
Yeah.
what so
Yeah.
conversations are meant to be had when you are ready to speak on them.
Right.
I if someone was trying to ask me something about the past, things like that, conversations are going to be had when you're ready to speak on them.
Sure.
I
When
wasn't
you're ready, meaning the addicted or the
me,
non-addicted
me,
member.
me, me,
Uh,
me personally. I
again,
know
about you. Okay.
listen, recovery is
When
very
you're ready.
selfish. Yeah, when I'm
Right.
look, because you
When you're
want, like you
ready.
said, you want
Right.
answers the second you get picked. People want non-addicted,
People want
whatever.
answers as soon
What
as,
the
and
sec,
that's what I'm afraid of.
Hmm.
And this is how they relapse.
and I would say, look, what that conversation will be had, but
Don't drop the hammer yet.
right now, I am not ready, but we will have it. But
See
right
that?
now,
See,
Totally different.
they could take that as disrespect because they're
uh,
like, you're acting like an
How
asshole.
yeah,
dare you?
I want the conversation right now. And you either need to draw that line in the sand and they'll walk away pissed off, but that's on
What
them.
Nick just said though was very important, and this is what I want him to say it again. I hate to repeat, but what did you just say about that conversation will be had?
it will be
You
had.
understand it. You understand that conversation needs to be had.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. Well, it's about identifying obviously all these things. So the conversation I know needs to be had, but when
Right.
when
See
when the
that?
conver when I'm
You
when a per
just to the non-addicted member, the wife or the husband, you just credentialed them to have a valid point by saying
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You took
it'll
the
happen.
fire out of it. You took it from a 10 to a 6 right there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's it. I mean, when it's ready. I mean, it's a selfish way to think. You met
It
people
is.
may think it's very inconsiderate, but you know what? It's considerate to me and to you because it might bring up a feeling that I didn't even know I had because I've been working on myself. But here comes a super sensitive topic that's going to really crush me, but I don't realize it until I say it, and it could lead to self-destruction.
If
You
you
know
do
what I
love
mean?
that person, if you do love them and you want things to be fixed and you say to them, I can't have this conversation
Hmm.
with you yet, they
But
don't
we
realize.
will.
But yeah, but what they don't realize is by you not having that conversation, you're doing what they want to see happen and
Hmm.
get better. Like, but if say you have that conversation and it throws you off the rails, one thing leads to another, and you're back in Kensington. say you don't have that conversation. All right, so that's muted. He might be a little upset with me, but I didn't get all into it with him, and he didn't bang me up like at a point where I didn't need it. So overall, you're giving it back to them by living amends, living clean and sober.
And it goes
True.
down to what part. I'll say it quick. What part did I play? Not every argument is an argument. Disagreements, because
Hmm.
now we're getting sober, clean. So
Right.
feelings. My thing was anger. So someone used to come at me. I used to come right back at him to a certain extent.
Hmm.
But then you start to ask, what part did I play? Okay, she's mad at me or he's mad at me. Why? Now I would sit back and filter my thoughts and say, okay, what part did I play in this that this person is mad at me? You know
Sure.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
not
Which is
every
why the non-recovery portion of the relationship
Mhm.
has to be educated, which
Yeah,
is the whole thing we're doing right now, right here, today, this last half an hour. We have to be educated too. It's tough. It's
yeah.
tough.
It's
Not
funny.
every not every disagreement is an argument. Disagreements are okay. Arguments is another thing. Developing the healthy scenarios, but not every argument is it's or disagreement. It needs to become an argument. There's differences to it.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But by you saying you realize that that conversation needs to be had, you're
Hmm.
just not ready to have it,
Hmm.
changed everything.
Hmm.
Changed everything in the event.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So it's a work. It's a
yeah.
job.
Listen,
Work in
you talk
progress.
about this is for other people. Like, remember Charlie D from last week who
Hmm.
had the son and all that. He
Yeah.
wrote us back. He wrote me back specifically. He just said thanks for mentioning me. It meant a lot. Shit, where'd it go? You've educated me more than I've ever been educated before. I didn't realize this was all out there. Please keep doing what you're doing. So, like,
Love
that's a
that.
perfect
Love that.
example of
He had just lost a son, right?
just lost his son. Tangible evidence that's what we've done. It's after the fact. I'm sorry, Charlie. We've talked already, but like, it's after the fact. But this guy, being the good guy that he is, I've talked to him. He wants to take it out a step further and spread the word so other parents don't have to go through what he went through. I mean, think
Good for
about
him.
that. Think
That's a
about
good
that.
guy.
Me, I would not be ready to give back. I'd be wallowing for years
Yeah,
and maybe
yeah,
never
For
get
years.
anything back. Take. You can tell me, and then fuck off. You know what I mean? But like this
yeah,
guy, early on, is on fire to save another father from going
yeah.
through the same thing what
To
he went through.
feeling what he's feeling right now.
I
That's
love that.
that's
Yep.
I
So
love
tip
that.
of the cap,
that's
Charlie. I know you're listening
Yeah,
tonight
great
too.
job. Great job.
yeah, man. Love you, buddy.
Stay in touch
Keep
with
it
the show,
going.
buddy. You guys want to answer some emails while we're?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here.
I'm in my new studio area. Did you like the dressing room of Old Navy?
Yeah, my parents always see me laying in the sun. They're like, "Are you in hair and makeup right now?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is what I do. I need to like have that cherry red color." All right, we can all answer this one. Henry from Commerce, Georgia,
Wow.
representing. I recently just got a DUI, and I'm really nervous about court. It sounds like you've all had similar experiences. Suggestions?
Well,
Get a lawyer. Don't
Okay.
represent
yeah.
yourself.
I mean, listen, I had the I've been blessed with 2 DUIs.
Me
One
too.
when I was 17, literally had my license for like 2 months, tried to get away from the cops, didn't end well. Here
No.
we are, right? Then I lost my license for a year. Second one, driving a buddy's car, first one was 2 blocks from my house. Second one was across the street. I just decided to run, accidentally decided to run a few red lights, try
Yeah.
and get cigarettes at the 7-Eleven.
Sure.
Cop pulled us over, and I was obviously severely intoxicated. But I mean, look, it happens. It's a speed bump in the road of what you're doing. I mean, hopefully they're going to make you do some things, probably go to IDRC classes,
Yep.
which is those things they mandate. You might lose it for 6 months, a year, depending if there was no accidents. Hopefully everybody was okay in the scenario. You might have to get the breathalyzer now. I still have a little tick in my neck when I
Yeah.
hear a beep. I think it's my breathalyzer
The
from having it for
interlock,
the
right?
interlock, yeah,
Yeah.
for having it for 3 years. But I mean, look, I personally don't think there's anything to be nervous about. If ever, God forbid, if anybody didn't get hurt, take it, do what you got to do to pay what you have to pay, and then just make a fresh start when it's all said and done.
So I'm just looking at the Georgia the regulations on DUIs. Um, it says a first offense DUI is charged as a misdemeanor, which is
Hmm.
punishable by $300 to $1,000 fine, 10 days to 12 months in prison. Geez, for your first
And
DUI.
10, wait, what? 10 months to
10 days to up to 12 months in prison
oh,
for a DUI. That's crazy to me.
that's intense.
The judge can suspend or confirm the imprisonment unless you had a BAC over 0.8. Isn't that the
That's the legal limit.
yeah?
It's the legal limit.
In which case you need to spend at least 24 hours in jail. So I went to mine was in New Jersey. I did what Nick said. I had to go to IDRC. They like they assess you and see if you're really crazy, and then like 99% of the time they're like, all right, you need to go see another therapist. So I went to another therapist, paid her another $400. It took forever. So yeah, and you won't have a court date right away. If you think you're gonna have a court date and start your time, you're not. It's going to take a while. You're going to have an arraignment first, all that stuff. So a DUI is a tough thing. Judicially, it's different from state to state. I know New Jersey,
Yeah,
there is no jail time on the table for a DUI, first or second offense. Third offense, you could do. I don't know. I think you had to do 6 months to a year
six
in jail.
months. Yeah,
Yeah, so we're a little different up north, but like your third offense, I don't know what it's like there. I should look that up too. Your
10 years.
third
10 years
offense,
loss of license.
10, yeah, that's New Jersey, 10 years loss of license. So like, I'm at 2. I'm not getting number 3. I can tell you that
No.
much. No,
You
thank
know
you.
what? You dress to impress. I see people in court. I haven't been to court in a couple of years for a ticket, but like you see how people are now. They're wearing fucking pajama pants and
Yep,
sweatshirts,
yep.
dress nice, body language is big, show remorse that you're, obviously my first DUI, I was supposed to lose it for 4 to 6 months. The judge said, but because of my body language, which I thought was normal,
Well,
but I guess not, I
the
lost
world
it
in
for a year.
general, all of us are more apt to give somebody a break that's trying to do the right thing and makes a mistake. So the recovery community has expanded out into the court system where a judge is not going to put you away if you really want to do an IOP or you really want to go inpatient. He's not going to put you in jail as long as you're serious.
Yeah, let me
They see their
Nope.
levels of
let me
bullshit
tell you
too.
something. The stigma, like we were talking about last week on
The court
Thursday,
system will want you to get better.
the judge saw that I went to IOP and PHP, that she saw all this stuff, and I ended up walking out of there with a miracle. I should have
Yeah.
had jail time. I should, and this is the stories you hear in AANA when you have a speaker, like, oh, they did this, that, and the other thing, and somehow I didn't get in trouble. So like, it's not like what can I get away with? It's what can I do
Do.
really to
They
fix
want to see it.
fix the problem, and they see it every day. They know if you're sincere or
And
not.
they are coming, and the pendulum does swing the other way.
It does.
When
Yeah.
you
The
are trying to
options
do the right things and you're in that battle for your life and for your sobriety, they will help you.
Yeah, the options there now today to choose to do it or not. There's so many resources out there. There's really no excuse. I say that as a normie thing. There's in their eyes, there's no excuse for you to not have gotten help because it's all out there, state funded,
Yeah.
whatever. So like they saw, I didn't have a lawyer. I had a public defender, but I've never paid for a lawyer. And I've just been honest and sincere about my recovery. Um,
Hmm.
I showed up with 2 diplomas, and she took them back, showed the judge, and said I should have done 6 months to a year in jail for what happened.
And as long as we're being honest and sincere, I don't want our audience members to think that I'm a saint here.
No, we know you're not.
I have zero DUIs in my life, and just dumb luck.
Hmm.
Just not just dumb luck. Just the cop not being there. No reason for it. I should have three, four, five of them.
Yeah,
So
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
lucky. I learned almost the hard way a couple of times.
a
So
lot of people are
I'm
like
no
that.
better than anybody else. I've drank and drove and just I haven't never
For
got caught when I was doing it.
all right, so Jermaine from Lawrenceville, New Jersey,
Hey,
Nick,
hey,
yeah, representing hometown. Nick, if you had the life you do now, back when you were early on in sobriety, just wondering about the stressors and timelines and such. I think he's asking you, you've built up whatever you've built up over 7 years. Say you just got it. It would say mom and daddy handed you this business and a house and all this stuff. Would you be able to hold on to it?
How I am right now,
Right. Look, just looking back, what you think would happen?
honestly, me personally, I wouldn't change anything that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this was, it's funny. I always said this. I always said I always wanted to live at the beach and at the shore, but
Mm.
did I expect it to be through losing everything and getting into recovery to live on the
Sure.
beach in Atlantic City in a sober house?
Yep.
No.
Right.
But here I am. I mean, I wouldn't change anything, but also if things were handed to me, I don't know how I would be able to deal with it because
Mm-hmm.
through recovery comes hard work. So a lot of the things in the past that were handed to me, I destroyed.
Right. Me too.
So like, hey, my first car, I was 17, got handed to me by my my uncle. I destroyed that car.
Yep.
Anything that's handed to me, you don't work as hard to keep it.
Great
Now
answer.
that's how I am.
Great
It
answer.
could be different. But if you work for something, it's going to feel that much better and that much more precious to keep because you worked for it.
Sure, and we can all. It's just normal human being stuff. You work for something, you get it. There's a reward in that. Yeah, when I was a kid, I was punching holes in the sheetrock because I was angry. When my dad started making me patch the sheetrock on my own, I was like, you know what? I'll stop punching holes. Fine. I don't feel like doing this.
Yeah.
I don't like spackle. You know what I mean? So like, you work for something. That's got a great point. You work for it. You deserve it. So
Mhm.
somebody hands it to you. Most of the time in addiction recovery, you don't deserve it. And you'll throw it away just like, it's so easy to throw something away that you haven't earned,
Yeah.
you know. So, all right, let's move on to it's one from Mike. Dave in Seattle, Washington.
Wow,
Um,
let's fucking go.
right? What time is it in Seattle? Six
I
o'clock?
don't know, but it smells like Teen Spirit.
Does it ever? Jesus. I heard that the suicide rate in Seattle is way higher than anywhere
It's
else because of
rainy.
rain. Oh, I couldn't live
People
out
all
there.
coffeeed out.
I
I
Yeah,
also hear there's a legal freaking crack spot in Seattle.
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
How dumb is that?
I don't know. I want to go there right now.
Yeah, first plane
Let's
ticket.
yeah, Atlanta. All right. So Mike in Seattle asks, Mike, how hard was it to become a nurse?
Um, at my age,
He didn't. He
hard.
didn't. He didn't notice it.
But to be honest with you, not very hard. It's funny how things come naturally to you that you didn't even know.
Yeah.
You have to have a clean record, of course. You have to have a clean background check.
Hmm.
Um, no convictions for any kind of drugs or abuse of any kind. And then you apply, and I applied at the county level to a county technical school, and it was a 1 year program. And within, I guess, with the prep classes and stuff, within 13 months, I was waiting for my license to be a nurse.
Oh,
So
okay.
not very long at all.
All right. I think if I could put another spin on that question,
Thank
how?
God for online classes, right?
No kidding.
I'm just kidding.
I have a bachelor's degree in bullshit.
Right.
So I think he put another spin on this question. I'm not sure if this is what he meant, but how hard was it, Mike? How hard was it on you personally, professionally, to make the choice to become a nurse? Because I think you know what you're getting into to a point.
I knew what I was getting into between my brother and his addiction and addiction all over my family.
That's
I
awesome.
always was the answer guy anyway. I
Yeah.
knew I would end up be going psych or med, but remember, it didn't become clear to me until I served that little stint in the federal prison where
Uh
I
huh.
saw the guys that didn't have much going for them from the deep, deep south, and doing life terms for 3 bags of weed,
Yeah.
and just it really made an empathy person out of me. And if you don't have the empathy, do not go near
Mhm.
psych or recovery
Right.
addiction type nursing.
Right. No, I mean, and you knew
Facts.
it from the start
Well
anyway. You
said.
knew. You knew him
And
going
once
into
you're a
the
nurse, if it's not for you, you might have to try 4 different types of nursing till you find your niche.
Sure. I think it's
But
nice
that you
that.
want to help somebody else is a noble thing. It doesn't have to mean that you have to help addicts or mental patients. You can help senior citizens, which I've said before. That's not for me. but there's lots of things that you can do to help others.
Well, you knew what you were getting into, basically.
I did.
And here we are years later. You're on a podcast, and
You know, podcast.
Dave from Seattle wants to know your opinion, and it all, what comes around goes around. The whole, there's a process to this thing, and
And
Mhm.
Dave,
it's
I
good.
wouldn't get into with a heart doctor because everybody's heart rate is up from all the coffee of Seattle. I
Yeah,
think
that's a
that's
good
the
point.
future of nursing out there.
Yeah, a lot of crack too.
Hypertension.
Um, let's jump in. Nick, I think you can answer this one better than all of us. Oh well, I don't know. Ella in Bordentown, New Jersey. I'm in a very toxic relationship. When things get bad, he gets to go back and go to rehab, and I have to stay home with the kids and pay our bills. What do I do in my case? Tough question.
See, it's tough because in this case, I mean, I could say this. So there was a situation when I was younger where, my mother was, we were put in a predicament, you know, and turns out the thing is people stay with somebody specifically for the kids.
Hmm.
So I could say my mother's one boyfriend, right? They dated for like 9 years, 10 years, right? He stayed. Oh boy, he
Hold on,
stayed.
hold on.
It's okay.
Yeah, my mom dated this guy and they stayed together for, I mean, their relationship was super toxic when he was with his ex, right? They stayed together specifically for the kids. But little do people realize is you're putting yourself in a situation where you feel it's best to stay together for your kids. Now, granted, I don't have kids, but what my situation is, I see it from the other side where
Hmm.
I was that kid and I
Right.
did have parents that argued. And then I try to speak on it from a perspective of being a young child and growing up in my teens and stuff and having situations like that. And where sometimes the best bet for the kids is to do what's best for you and now the kids.
Yeah.
Because if it's a constant rotation of, hey, he gets clean, 90 days back in treatment, he's this, he's that, he goes back and back and back, it starts to get tiring. And then it's going to start to mess with the kids' mental and
Yeah.
it's going to start messing with them where, that's going to be something they expect. And then the kids are smart.
Sure.
Kids
I
are
know what's
my
going
Oh
girl, my
on.
yeah.
girls,
Oh
my
yeah.
girls' kids are young and they're freaking smart as a freaking as anything. And I think it's best for you to do what's best for you.
Yeah.
And what's best for you will be, I think, what's best for those kids because it is a vicious cycle and hopefully it ends soon for you and I hope it gets better, but I think that being in that toxic relationship, obviously you're identifying it's toxic, so he could still be around kids but from a distance.
Well,
Sometimes that's what's
this is
best.
how I took that question. When he gets when things get bad, he gets to go back to rehab, and I have to stay home to pay the bills. I'm guessing just by that the wordage that she is dealing with addiction problems too. Um, and that's a lot of people. A lot of people have to whatever go into boxing, do whatever they got to do while the husband keeps running because he's allowed to because it's the
Yeah,
stigma, you know. So if he
but it's
gets to go
because we
back.
allow them.
True, true. So if she drew a line in the sand and planted her feet, things might change. But for some reason, it's I'm leaving. The kids are with you. They're your kids. They came out of you. Um, it's just how things are for the most part. You go to
Yeah,
rehabs and there's 20 women and 80 men. You're like it's just a reality. And most
yeah,
of them have wives or baby mamas or whatever that have to stay home and hold down the fort
yeah,
while you just
yeah,
went on a run and now you're in treatment again. So she says he gets to go to rehab. I feel bad for her because I know there was a point in my life where I wish I could go to rehab. I want to get better. I can't. I don't know what rehab is. I don't know how to get into one. I'm not, whatever.
Sounds like it's a break from the kids. He gets to go to the rehab.
Well, I mean,
hey,
Get away from these kids.
could
it's
be
not,
that
it is
too.
that, can be.
Could we do that too? It just
I
Mhm.
it strikes me
Yeah,
as
If
a
she don't want
relate.
the kids, send them up here. I'll take them.
Yeah.
yeah, but I
Um,
think do what's best for you. See what you could do. I mean, that's what it comes down to. We just can't keep letting the cycle happen.
sure.
Got to break the cycle eventually.
Sure. All right. Well, that's about it for us. Like to keep it under an hour. Another good episode, boys. What's the big deal? We meet again in a few days. So like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I like what you're doing. Thank you for the commitment to the podcast. A lot of people are doing something with it. I don't know exactly what lately, and I don't think they know either, but I think we're getting somewhere with it. We're filling a
Yeah.
void where there's a need. Just a couple questions. I guess I'm going to go over an hour. Um, we encourage anybody to reach out to us if you want to be part of the show, want to be on the show, you're in recovery, you're a counselor, whatever. We encourage you to reach out for us. Tina C, you'll meet her on the next episode. She's going to be a special guest of ours. And at the same time, I was talking with a friend of mine who is a worker at a treatment facility, and we were just going back and forth. And he said, "Well, why don't you have a treatment facility play your guys' podcast when they don't have a group facilitator?" And I'm
Oh
like, you know
shit.
what? That's a fucking great idea, because how many times was I at a place and I'm inpatient, I'm there 24 hours a day, and they're one of the groups, they don't have anybody. All right, let's put on the basketball player dude's video again that you've seen for the 10th time. Why not throw our hour-long podcast up for
Wow,
everybody?
that's huge.
Right? So like,
That's
That'd be
awesome.
nice.
and
I'm
he's a
fine with that.
he
Copyright wise, whatever.
whatever. Yeah, we might have to clean up our
I'm not trying
copyrights.
to profit off it. They can have it.
No, but like that's a great thing. Like I remember being in treatment. They're like, hold on, we don't know if the AA guy's coming or NA guy's coming. Hold on.
Right, or it's bad weather
All right,
or whatever.
all right, yeah, there's no AA tonight. Whatever. Let them have their
Smoke breaks
yeah,
extended.
yeah. Everybody's excited.
Smoke a torture the nurses.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a great idea. Like, how many
Wow.
treatment centers? How many? And for them, they have to put out so many groups. And it's hard. Me and Nick have been on the other side of it, where it's like, all right, we'll run a group. Fine, we're not qualified. We're not,
Back
but
to
we're
back to
we're the
back to
ones
back.
that have to step in. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to throw on a recovery podcast that's talking about things that are current, especially what we've been talking about lately, what aftercare and leaving and families.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, holy shit, like this could be make or break for somebody. And you never know. People might grasp onto recovery, grasp onto this thing, go in full bore and take us with them, put us up as a part of their tool belt, as a part of their support system. And you learn that in treatment. I don't know how many things that I learned in treatment that have still stuck with me through addiction and today. Because you're at a fragile point when you're at inpatient treatment. And to have that impression on people, I don't care. That's the kind of platform that I'd love to see us tied into. And I think you guys agree. It's a great fucking idea right
I
there.
think
So,
it's great.
or I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna push for that. I think I know what strings to pull. And that's everything. That's everything really. As usual, we encourage you to check out trash-podcast.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on your toaster oven, we're everywhere. So like whatever whatever you want to do to get in touch with us, we're there. So again, we thank you as hosts and people who have invested in this show. It's been a privilege for us. So Nick, I love you. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Mike, I love you too. Thank you very much.
Have a good night, guys. Love
Bye.
you.